Good morning, everybody. Welcome to IT Live, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm Tex Homer, Coach Dub, Eric, coming off a bye week, but now it's time to play Georgia. So we're going to talk a little bit about what we've seen with Georgia, watching the All-22, the playoff hunt, what this weekend means for that, and then we can speculate a little bit. And then we will do the Texas roster priorities as National Signing Day approaches, talk about what our needs are, and Coach Dub will fill us in on some players. But before we do that, guys, head over to InsideTexas.com and join for just $1. Team intel, recruiting, team game analysis, all of that jazz. It's Georgia week, so you know there's going to be a lot of good stuff. Good morning, everybody in the chat. Good morning. Yancey's in a dilemma here. Good morning from Birmingham. Currently deciding whether to pay rent or go to Athens this weekend. You know, normie stuff. Hey, man, I think you know the answer. Rent is overrated, right? You can pay that later theoretically, right? But you can't miss the Georgia game. So that's going to be a big factor. Good morning to everybody. Hope everyone's rested up from the bye. All right, let's talk Georgia, man. First, we can talk the narrative side of it, right? Get the TMZ side of it out, right? It's the third time playing Georgia, and if Sark loses to Georgia, then what does this mean? But really, it's just we got to win some games, boys, to get in the playoffs, which we'll talk about. And Georgia's a very different team this year than they have been. It's pretty jarring, and we'll talk more on Paul's show tomorrow about the numbers, but they're bottom of the barrel in just total takeaways. And so they don't have interceptions. They don't have tackles for loss. They don't have sacks. They don't have fumbles. Like, nothing's going on there, and they're bad on third down. This is not Georgia when you think of it, and it's pretty strange. So first, what are y'all's thoughts, Texas offense versus Georgia defense?
Well, I think the Texas somewhat finding an identity in the last game, maybe the last two games, offers some hope. They've got to attack the perimeter, like we were talking about in our group message last night. You got to go after the perimeter pretty hard. Ole Miss did a good job of that. Ole Miss did not do a good job of capitalizing on that. Once you get them off balance and going on the perimeter, you have to attack other parts of the field, the middle part, hopefully going over the top too. And, you talk about their lack of takeaways. That's directly tied to their, lack of pass rush. They have to generate that through their linebacker movement, which I think at times is going to be pretty predictable, especially situationally. We joke that Arch is going to have to hit a mesh this week. We think we're joking. Hopefully he can do that by now. But yeah, I think the stuff that Texas leaned into in the last couple of weeks, and maybe against OU as well, is stuff that they can find success with. But they're going to have to pass to set up the run, and I can just go get in there and run the ball. This is not a meathead game at all. They're going to have to pass to open up the run. They're going to have to protect the ball and play really clean. Georgia is not the old Georgia, but they're still pretty good.
Yeah, they still, even though they don't get sacks, you'll still see 0 and be like, that's a hell of an athlete. That's still there. They're just not productive, which is really weird. Coach, what do you think?
Yeah, I thought last year maybe Georgia defense did a great job tackling the space. Like this year, they're not. They can't do that for some reason. Like they missed a lot of open field tackles. Their DBs are kind of grabby. They kind of get beat often. They lose their man, especially deep on routes. And so it's definitely not the same. I know they got 2 new safeties kind of started. I know Bowden was a freshman, played a lot, but he didn't start right. So I feel like they just have like a lot of miscommunication issues on the back end, and they can't generate pressure to help them at all. So the linebackers, they're just not the same as they were last year. So I think it's a lot of new guys trying to fill in and trying to meet the Georgia expectation, but they're just not there. So if we can kind of put them in space, especially if our guys can continue to get yards after the catch, I think it's going to be huge. It's going to pay huge dividends for us. And that'll open up the run game for us, I think. If those guys kind of start playing more coverage and maybe trying to stop the run with 5, maybe we can get some momentum going, kind of run some gap scheme, run directly at them, and then hit them with a lot of outside zone, because it seems like a lot of teams they don't play it correctly, right? They're trying to play down the line of scrimmage versus playing vertical. And so I don't feel like they have the edges kind of set the edge like they did last year. And then they lost their, number 44?
Jordan Hall.
Jordan Hall, yeah, the big defensive tackle who can kind of, maybe push our interior guys back. They lost him, and so they're going to play some young guys up there. I think we can get some things if we stick to the script and say, hey, focus on the things that hurts them like other teams did. I think we'd be okay, but we got to do it.
This lineup is like a beard progression. Eric starter kit, Homer halfway, and Dubs. This is Sparta look. I hope to get where Dubs at, man. Mine never fills in, dude. You see that? It's patchy, dude. And this is like after months. Like I need to do those weird like vitamins or whatever people.
Way out there to help you blend
Yeah.
it in. Trust
I
me.
don't have it filled in. It just I can get the length. But so I studied mostly Bama's offense and Ole Miss's, and I think you need to combine their approach. So Ole Miss was perimeter, and I thought that was really solid. And then design quarterback run. That was their big thing. Alabama started off trying to go inside. It didn't work. They worked outside, but then they started combining because what they'll do is if you spread the perimeter, you're going to spread their zone over time. That'll give you intermediate middle. So if you can spread the perimeter, hit intermediate middle with some QB design runs, I think that's where you'll have the most success. What I will warn completely against is any type of vertical run game. It doesn't work, and it's going to stall your drive. And so so outside zone, stuff like that, or like sweeps, getting to the boundary and run. But interior run is a quick way to stall your drive. Ole Miss, like, barely even tried it. They were just like, good. And there's a reason, And so hopefully Sark's not stubborn. Hopefully it's not 12 personnel. Hopefully it's not trying to run forward. I think that's the biggest key for their defense. And depends on who they're playing and situation, blah, blah, blah. But they will play off. And if you remember in the SEC championship, Texas finally did take those versus Georgia. They would hit the comebacks and the sits. They'll give you 5 yards. So it doesn't all need to be behind the line screens, but you got to take what they give you because then you'll perpetually be in good situations. And so I think that's the biggest key when you're playing their defense. But yeah, it's just not a Georgia defense as an ability to affect the quarterback. And also if you're playing off but not getting any drive killers, then you're just letting teams march up the field. So it's very weird. Someone points out, until they play us, that's always a factor, right? They haven't been that aggressive either. Like a lot of the stuff they're doing is 4 down, but I bet they break it back out for Texas.
They'll bring that double linebacker blitz through the same gap. Trey Wise is going to pick up one, and then another guy's right behind him. They had success with that this past weekend. I saw A&M have success with that against Missouri too. But the fact that they have to devote numbers to get pressure, or at least in theory, with this new offensive line for Texas, the experienced one that played very well, created a pocket for Arch for most of the Vanderbilt game. There's some reasons for optimism here for sure. But Justin Wales points out that Georgia destroyed Texas on the perimeter. Texas was a very easy scout in that first game. Quinn Ewers was pretty much still shell-shocked from his injury, and he was, that was pretty much the heat map. The passing heat map was pretty much exactly where Georgia set up, and Texas had no counters. I think Texas has a lot more counters in the passing game, can threaten the field a lot more, and it doesn't help that Georgia doesn't have nearly the same pass rush that they had last year.
Yeah, it was easy to shut down Quinn Ewers because it was going to be an intermediate over to a side of the field or a screen. So if you stop the screens, this year it's a little different, and Arch can run. And they've had some issues with quarterback run, whether that's design or scrambled. Who's the Ole Miss quarterback? Chambliss. Arch doesn't have that kind of like explosiveness that he was able to use, but you can make him pay. And especially when they expand those zones so deep, I mean, they do not want to get beat over the top.
No.
We'll use that to your advantage, hit intermediate, and then quarterback run, I think will be the key. Georgia is still a high-level run defense. Yeah, I don't think the run part is how you win this at all. And that's why I thought Ole Miss admitted that by saying we're not really going to do that. We're going to perimeter screen as the run game. But who knows what Sark tries to do there. Georgia offense, though, is a different story. They have been really efficient, especially in the last kind of 3 games. They're number 1 in the country for efficiency on scoring, and they don't run a ton of plays. So they're kind of Vandy-ish in that they don't run a lot of plays, but they are efficient. And so that's going to be a big factor, but they're not explosive. And Colby Young goes down as a deep threat. They don't hit over the top. They'll throw them, but they don't connect enough. So it's all these sideways, tight end screens, tight end leaks, bring them over the middle.
Yeah.
What I am concerned about is Lawson Lucky got smacked hard in the Mississippi State game, so I'm sure he's in protocol. We'll see if he's able to play, which is a big factor. But those tight ends can exploit your zone. And if we're just leaving blinking green lights, hey, throw here, pre-snap, and then it's still open, that's what I worry about, how they can actually get their yards, because a lot of this stuff is going to be side to side, and they're really committed. They're actually a rushing offense, and the pass comes off of that. So I think that's the true matchup, honestly, is the Texas defense versus Georgia's offense. What do y'all think?
Well, I mean, it's good to have Jelani McDonald back with all their tight ends. And just matching up. Texas is going to have to run base at times with all those tight ends on the field, and you want Jelani having the ability to play star rather than just Grayson Littleton. So getting him back is extremely important. I mean, if without him, I'm not sure Texas would be able to slow them down enough. But yeah, they have a quarterback who uses his legs. He's been a really good passer this year. Like you said, they don't really have the deep element like they necessarily probably thought they were when they were bringing in Branch. But Branch has been really good addition, basically in place of Anthony Evans. That position has been drastically upgraded. They use that a lot more. They throw to him a lot in space. Going to have to tackle well. Perimeter tackling has been iffy for Texas. Anytime these offenses create space, tackling becomes that much harder. And so Texas is going to have to tackle, get hats to the ball carrier, and have a really sound, clean game in that regard. I don't think Georgia's going to run the ball all that great. I think that's, they're going to have to win it with the arm as well, and Gunnar Stockton's legs. I really like the fact that they played Pavia last. That gives them some muscle memory on getting a pass rush, but still keeping their discipline. That's going to be very important. We saw Gunnar Stockton change the complexion of the SEC championship game. It would have been better for Carson Beck to stay in that damn game. Then Gunnar Stockton come in and use his legs. So, I think they're going to have a really good defensive game plan. I like that Tapp is back. I like that McDonald's back. I think this game is going to be close into the fourth quarter. I think it's going to be played in the 20s and be tight. And it's whoever makes the most plays in the fourth is going to win.
That's good. You know what? These two teams, they're kind of known for defense, but the offenses are going to have to be the ones that everybody's going to be talking about this game. Like, they're both explosive. Well, we're coming into our own offense, and now Georgia offense is better than defense. But I know you talked about Lucky being out, but then they got like a young tight end, Jaden Riddell, who's a freshman, who might be better.
Number 10.
He's good too, right? And so
number 10, if that's number 10, that kid is crazy talented.
Yeah, they finally let him in the game, but they got number 23. But Bobo does a good job of Mike Bobo getting you going horizontal, then he attack you vertically. Adding Noah Thomas to the mix now, I mean, that's a 50-50 ball win. I don't know and if he hasn't played much or why he hasn't played much, but the last two games, he's inserted himself, right? He had a long catch and run versus Mississippi State. For a 6'6" guy, he was moving. So they got some pieces on offense that can kind of give us, some issues, especially if we're not on the same page in the secondary. I know Tapp coming back and Jelani being back helps, but there's still holes there that they can attack. And it doesn't matter about Tapp coming back whatsoever. They're going to find their guy and identify the matchup and try to go at him. And so we just got to be disciplined on defense, man. But I think they may try to spread us out to run. I think we just got to be aware of that. But they're going to continue to try to run. Mike Bobo's not going to give up on it, right? He may try to run into a brick wall, but as sooner or later, it may break. They may break and run into, right? But they'll stick with it. And so we got to be aware of that as well. So we got to kind of just be balanced on defense and communicate well. I think we'd be okay.
Yeah, Bowens, that back is the lead back. He's more traditional. Frazier, that joke about Pacheco on the Chiefs is like he runs like a bad toddler. That's the same with Frazier. And I said last year on a breakdown, he runs like he's like leaving a house fire. He's super talented, but he needs to slow down, dude. Like, he's on the offensive lineman's back before anything even occurs. The other back, Bowens, has been much more of a traditional, talented back for them, but Frazier has some speed. Their running explosivity is actually pretty low. So it's not a ton of big runs that they're getting, but they run a lot and they run fairly consistently. And so that's going to be the big thing. But on the flip side, Texas run defense is like top 5. Yeah. So if you can stop their run, because all of their tight ends, all of their leaks, all of this side-to-side stuff are coming off of run actions and stuff like that to trick you. So the only thing I do worry about, and Nash put it up on the board, the last 3 games, the Texas deep pass defense is like in the hundreds. Yep. So once again, we might incentivize a team to pass into our weakness. And so that's also where you get a little tricky. And they're good at coming back as well. So that's a big factor, but I think Eric nailed it too with Branch. He's behind the lines of scrimmage and he's short and he's athletic. The tight ends are what freak me out honestly the most though, because middle zones and stuff like that. So good backs, all of that stuff. And then Gunnar Stockton's done a really good job of not panic scrambling all the time. He's become a much more decisive runner and an effective runner. Some of his pulls, man, that defensive end is like a mile away. He yoinks it and he has like 30 yards. So you're going to have to be really disciplined there. And of course, once I get in the red zone, now the draws are open or any of the scrambles. So it's a fun offense. They do some cool things, and then they build their play design from the week prior. So they'll do a lot of tricky stuff. I think it's a good offense. I think that's ultimately going to decide the game.
Yeah, they make you they can hurt you in a lot of different ways. They run the whole playbook. Like you compared it to Vanderbilt. They don't run the same offense, but they can damage you the same ways. They've got good running backs. There's no real weak link outside of, I guess, maybe the deep ball. And then that's always the Texas. We haven't seen great coordination, right? I mean, Vanderbilt didn't have a great deep ball, and then there was their tight end breaking it off for 65 yards due to a bust. Texas had way too many busts. And so hopefully that's, that cannot happen with Taft and McDonald. But last time those two guys were on the field together, Mississippi State threw the ball all over the place. So it's really going to come down to, and you know what, we haven't seen great pass defense from the linebackers in recent weeks either. So, and those guys have been healthy. Yeah. So there's some coordination issues that we're going to have to be aware of going into this game. They could win it with their arm. And the tight ends. And, Texas has the athletes to match up. There's no question about that, but I'm not sure that they have the coordination right now.
Yeah, the design, right? If the athletes are in the wrong spot, it doesn't matter anyways. They also get a lot of DPI because the deep ball is pretty weak. What they will do is they'll throw the fade up. It was to Colby Young. Noah Thomas plays more now because Colby Young's out. And so they have the same play style or how they use them in the offense. And Gunnar Stockton will underthrow it, and then they DPI. So, they get cheap 15 yards because, frankly, that they're inaccurate deep. So.
Bring in this David Keith Williams. Gunnar Stockton has more than 100 rushing yards than Arch.
Okay. Gunnar Stockton has more than 100 rushing yards, more than Arch Manning, and he has rushed for more touchdowns than Manning.
Yeah. Does that account for sack yardage? Because obviously, Arch has been running for his life a whole lot this season. I don't think blank yardage doesn't really, or aggregate yardage doesn't really tell the whole story on who's a better mobile quarterback. Obviously, with Arch being injured, they might be a little bit slow to run him. This is kind of the game I've been pointing to, that if you're going to have Arch, you're going to have to run him in this one. So we'll see. Gunnar Stockton, to me, is not a better dual threat sort of quarterback than Arch, at least when it comes to talent wise. So yeah, I don't know. That's to me, that's a meaningless stat.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, Garrett. No, sir.
12 personnel bully ball. No way.
That'd be
if you had the horses, sure, but no shot. But they do a lot of that. They go into 12. They're a mixed offense, so you'll see them in trips with a ton of receivers, and they have various receivers. They'll bring in Humphreys, all of that. They have they have 3 tight ends they'll play. They have a lot of personnel. Now, a lot of them you can normally kind of slot to, this guy has this role in the offense. They'll play a certain position. It doesn't matter if it's first or second string, that position gets targeted in similar ways repeatedly. So, but they do have a lot of options, and the offense is creative. I don't know why Georgia fans get mad at Bobo.
Sark, there's people that are actually concerned about Sark running 12 personnel in this game. That would be, now he's hit me with some unforeseen things this season that really caught me off guard, and that would truly be shocking. And boy, he would deserve every bit of blowback he got for how that would go, because that's not going to go well.
Who knows, man? He thought that was the Vanderbilt play too, and then reality got him. All right, guys, we need to talk some Academy here. We're running close to the last day for this, guys. Academy Sports and Outdoors proudly honors our brave military and first responders for everything you do to protect our nation and serve our local communities. We appreciate your unmatched dedication and countless sacrifices. And from October 19th through November 11th, that's tomorrow, guys, Academy is giving you a salute with 10% off your sports and outdoors purchases at your local Academy store and online at academy.com/discount. Exclusions do apply.
Yeah, they're still talking about Stockton running the ball well. That's why I'm happy that they just played Pavia.
Mm-hmm.
They've got that. They've got the plan to do, and they've got a million different spies that they can use if they need to. If Stockton starts breaking off some runs, they'll just spy him. So I'm not too worried about it. Obviously, he can change the game with one scramble. You can pick up a first down that extends a drive, and they win it on that final drive. You never know. But I think overall they're going to have a good plan for Stockton and his legs. Again, they got burned last year in the SEC championship game by him coming in the second half. But they played Pavia very well last week, at least on the ground. And I think they'll do the same on Stockton. I'm much more worried about the pass defense cohesion. Somebody mentioned Leonga Lafau was better in pass defense last year. Yeah, this is a coordination thing. Leonga Lafau has all the traits, and Tyanthony Smith has all the traits to be excellent in coverage for a linebacker. This is coordination issues.
I agree.
Yeah, definitely.
Stockton just picks his spots really well. Like earlier in the year, he was running all over the place, and there was an edict clearly that was like, you need to stay in the pocket. Now he's just running a couple times, not a couple more than that, a few times per game, but they make total sense and they're backbreaker moments. That's what's tough. They're not spamming him. And so that's the big thing. And that zone read, it's like he'll give it. In the fourth quarter, he's going to yank that thing, and he's out of there. He's fast too, man.
He's
like,
fast.
You know, of course, announcers hit him with the sneaky athletic when I was watching one of their games. I was like, y'all would think to quit doing that by now, but he's just straight up athletic. So it's going to be interesting to watch them. Like I said, they're well coordinated, and their offensive line does a good job. That's a big factor too. They run the ball well from, you know, spread out. There'll be just 5 blockers, and they do a good job. They've been good in not causing sacks. Like it's a well formulated offense, both schematically and fitting the players. All right. I'm not putting that up, Justin Wells, but that is funny. All right, guys. Anything else final about Georgia before we talk about the playoff hunt, which is insane to even be talking about after earlier in the season? But
no, well, Georgia, that's a good transition to the playoff game. Texas, actually, I mean, they need, obviously they're approaching it like they have to win this game. There's no doubt about that. But they don't technically have to win the game to still be alive in the playoffs. But that would mean that they have to win the final 2. And, you know, Aggies are going to be tough. And Arkansas, you know, Arkansas can do some things that can make that game interesting too. So obviously would love to get this win, but the way the playoff picture's setting up, and we got some more clarity this weekend, Texas could get in at 9-3.
I worry about that because Texas was so hyped that they do the punishment revenge on you, right? So like you lose to Florida and they drop you the hell out. And frankly, I don't think they were wrong with how the offense was playing. Now they bring you back. So now you're restoring faith, and then you lose to Georgia. Then I feel like it's going to be pretty punitive because what are you hanging out around 10 right now?
I mean, if they play Georgia well, that's not going to – there's no harm in going into Georgia and losing by a field goal or a touchdown.
Intelligent reason states that, but it's like you're gonna go out of the playoff picture numbers-wise if you lose to Georgia because you're at the end of it. So – if you beat A&M, maybe you creep back up, but I'm just worried that they'll drop you so far from Georgia.
You're not factoring for the external factor. You're just looking at Texas by itself. Look at the rest of the landscape. The ACC is going to be a 1-team league. Yeah. The Big 12 is probably going to be a 1-team league if Texas Tech runs the table from here on out. Somebody has to go in. Texas is going to be better than a lot of other teams that you're worried about if they beat A&M.
Yeah, they beat A&M.
I mean, I agree. I'm just worried that they'll drop you further than you should with a Georgia loss. It'd almost be better that you could get further up the rankings before playing Georgia. So when you drop from like 6th to 9th versus 10th to 15th.
Ryan Nelson says Utah at 10-2 is worrying. I mean, they lost to BYU. Who was Utah's big wins? They lost to Tech.
Yeah, lost to Tech.
I mean, they don't have any wins. Texas will have OU, which was ranked in the top 10, Vandy, which was ranked in the top 10, and would have A&M that would be ranked in the top 3.
Yeah, I think that's the right choice. It freaks me out. And that Indiana game was sick. That final drive was something, man.
I still can't believe that touchdown, that reception. How did he
get his foot down? That's
and
crazy.
how did that Penn State DB not launch him into the stands?
I know. I would have
soft push him, like shove him.
Guy was in the air for 5 seconds. I mean, good. Hey, that was.
He had time to go all the way up and then all the way down to put his foot down. It was pretty wild.
Put his trail foot down, the back foot. I mean, that was just an insane play. Now people are like, "Is that Francisco Mendoza's, Heisman moment?" You should not have a Heisman moment against a team that's 0-6 in the conference.
It's gonna be though.
But
I think he's gonna make it there. But he struggled most of the game. Like it wasn't his best game.
No one has a concrete name the drive from a quarterback this year. Like that's gonna resonate. And just because Penn State has the brand name too, man. Records don't matter. They know logos.
Yeah. It was a hell of a drive, and yeah, I was just hoping for upsets, man. That was That weekend left me wanting. And, you know, the one team I don't want to get upset, Washington, you know, Wisconsin's leading passer was their punter, got a 24-yard fake punt. And that Wisconsin had 8 first downs, which is pitiful to get a win in. But then you remember Texas had 8 versus Kentucky and got the win. And then what was the other one? Cal beat Louisville, which that's good for Texas. That's good.
Yeah. So what's it looking like? ACC 1, Big 12 1. How many in the Big 10 is it looking like? 4?
3,
and then 5. What, 5 for SEC?
Yeah, so you need. Here's what really needs to happen. Texas needs Alabama to take care of business on OU. Alabama, of course, needs that game, but also Alabama lost in Norman last year, so they're going to have that one front of mind. They've got to win that. Ty Simpson's playing really well. He looks like the Heisman favorite to me. And you need Oregon to handle USC at home in a couple weeks. Oregon did not look great against Iowa. They've been losing wide receivers left and right. Still have Malik Benson, who's good. So if Oregon, you just kind of need some of this to be chalk. You know, it should play out that Oregon beats USC. It should play out that Alabama beats OU, and then Texas is looking really good. And then if Notre Dame would lose to Pitt, that would help out too.
I was looking at Oscar Delp's stats, and he's been very underutilized. Yeah, I noticed that too. I thought it was interesting. In 9 games, he only has 14. So Lawson Lucky has been the main player, and like I said, he went out with a likely concussion. So we'll see if that means Delp is the starter. But yeah, Delp has not been a huge factor, which has been interesting. We'll see with the playoffs, man. I'm in just win, baby.
Yeah, you win. Let everybody take care of your business, and then let everything else, you know.
That'd be great, but man, it's less likely that Texas wins out than they go, 2 or 3. What is the most likely outcome?
Most likely is probably 2-1. But yeah,
I think that's most likely too, but that's close. 1 and 3 or 1 and 2 is also, there's a very decent chance.
1 and 2 is more likely than 3-0.
True.
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm at. And I don't trust this team yet, man. I don't care about what the offensive line did last week. I don't care at all. I need to see Sark actually plan and game plan to that offensive line. I don't. The funny part is, by the time I trust this offense, the season will be over. Because I'm I need to see consistency, but we're at the end,
I think I actually trust the offense more than I trust the pass defense.
That's the thing now. It's now the variables is flipped because it's what's up with
if they run the same offense, if they run the same offensive line, they're going to score points. Arch is going to do enough. Arch is good. The Arch that we said was good that existed against Florida that nobody wanted to see because he's running for his life all day. Arch is good, legit good. He was the best quarterback in America the last time we saw him on that day. They're gonna score points if they run out that offensive line and run out that offense. I'm worried about the pass defense and something like Oscar Delp. Yeah, he's got 14 catches on the year. Then he goes and has 4 or 5 against Texas, and 3 of them are first downs. 1 of them's a touchdown. I mean, I could see that happening. I don't trust the pass defense right now.
Yeah. And they scheme guys up too. They
do a great job of that.
They have this awesome play. They do a lot of fast to the flat stuff, whether it's a tight end or running back. So snap, throw it out immediately, move the pocket. But now what they started to do, they took the tight ends out to the flats, and then they have number 10 hanging out in line, and he slips out for a leak. And so that's what I talk about when they're building things on top, and then they'll switch which way the play is running. They do a lot of stuff to challenge you and to get guys open. So it's well coordinated too. That's going to be the big factor.
Yeah. Mike Bobo does a lot in the game. He'll show you something first quarter, man. He'll come back to it in the fourth quarter, but look, it's a different play. It's man, he gets your eyes he makes you have dirty eyes on defense. What am I reading here? I thought they were running right at me. I thought they were running outside zone. It's something else. And so you really got to key in on your keys and your guys, man. You cannot have miscommunication or breakdown because they'll burn you.
And you got to figure out second half, right? Because Georgia will come back. It's the old Sark thing where it's you get up 31-0, and then in the second half it's tight. You have to be careful because Georgia will come back.
Yeah.
In those second
they've won a couple shootouts. That game against Tennessee, they looked dead in the water a couple times, and Ole Miss was up on them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're okay getting in a shootout, and Texas is okay letting a team back in a shootout. That's terrifying. If they get up, if Texas jumped out somehow 14-0 in the first quarter, I would still feel like it was 0-0. I mean, that's just the way this team is. Sark, they've never put teams away.
No. Ian is licking his chops if we lose to Georgia because of the past defense. Ian validation. Yeah, he's been taking a victory lap this past week on what he thought about the secondary.
It's coordination. It's not talent. I'll argue with Ian about that all day long.
Yeah, that's my thing is because these guys are catching stuff in wide open zones. Like that's just coordination. That's not purely athletic. All righty. Didn't Sark go 6-0 to finish 2023 and 5-0 to finish 2024, not counting SEC championship?
Yeah, we had some awesome Novembers under Sark. There's no doubt about that. And their backs were against the wall a couple times. One loss, especially 2 years ago, right? Because that's that was only a 14 playoff, so they had to thread the needle in 2023, and they were able to do it. And then last year, it looked kind of iffy after that Georgia loss. They did not look great. Quinn was rattled, and it was a little touch and go there. And then they had a great November. So I don't know if that means anything right now, but it's we'll see. I think 2-1 is most likely to go back to this conversation that's happening in the comments. I think the future bets were last week was Georgia was favored by Texas by 4.5. I don't even see what the line is that came out yet. And then against the future bet on A&M was Texas favored by, I think, 2.5 or 3. So, I expect Texas to split Georgia and A&M. I don't know which one they're going to win. I don't know which one is more winnable. I tend to think A&M is probably going to be a little bit more winnable.
I'm expecting 1 and 2 would be pleased with 2 and 1 and would have extreme emotions about anything involving 3.
But either way, people be saying we're winning it all. So, yeah.
Well, Sark's serious about this game. Anytime Sark breaks out the opponent's home record, he's serious about it. So he's like, well, we know Georgia's, 50 million and 1 at home. Well, anytime he's obsessed with that. He does.
Remember, up until this year, he talked about how great they were on the road, and now he's flipped the script and he's like, well, we're great at home. That's what now Sark is like, we're great at home. But that's another consideration. They've been terrible on the road. Look, they won against Kentucky, and that's that's not easy. And beating Mississippi State, but those games they played poorly. The fact of the matter is they played poorly in those games, and then of course they lost to Ohio State. So they've been bad on the road.
Yeah, we kind of flipped the script because we used to be killers on the road.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see, man. They've had 2 weeks. How do y'all? So here's the thing. Make sure you guys are arguing my actual point here because everyone gets weird about bye weeks. So bye weeks are good for rest, recovery, all of that. To me, there's a part of it that can lead to rust. And I don't know why this is my example, but like stand-up comedy, like they talk about like you need to be on stage, right? You need to, if you take some time off, you're going to get rusty. Is there any weariness coming out of the bye that there is a little bit of rust? I think there is something to being in the fire for consecutive weeks going into these games. I know there's benefits to bye weeks, but what do you guys think?
Charlie?
I think honestly during the bye week, you're not stationary. You're moving around. You're still going through. You're still lifting. You're still running. You're moving around. But it's a lot of mental work that you're getting in. So honestly, I don't think there's much rest because you need the rest for your body. The bruises and all that you beat up through the season. But you get a lot of mental reps in, and you're still working out with the strength and conditioning staff. So you're moving. You're still going through and doing little bitty walkthroughs, but you get a lot of mental work in. So for me, I don't think you get rusty. I think you gain more knowledge, especially on your opponent, if you're doing the right things and watching enough film that you should be doing on your off time, right? So it's up to the players to do a lot because I know they gave them some time off too to kind of just get away from football. That's great. But I can tell you what, that coaching staff was working. But the players, if they were doing their due diligence and working, they got a lot of mental reps in. And so I don't think there's rust. I think it's just people not taking care of their business when they have the free time.
Well, I think it's also a weak argument on my part, given the context of this. Like we needed Jelani and Taff, we needed the pass defense getting shredded. So like to have an extra week to figure that out. So I think my argument in another context would make more sense, but specifically, I think this bye week has been more valuable than usual. And then just give Sark an extra week too to game plan.
You can argue it round or flat. You see it in the baseball playoffs all the time. Like one team sweeps and the other team plays, to seven grueling innings. And then they come in that first game, they had a long layoff, they get smoked. And oh man, they were too rusty. Or they come in and they work the team that just came off the 7-game series and like, oh, look, they were rested. I mean, it just depends on how well they play.
Yeah, either way you can support your argument, right?
Yeah.
And so, I've just always wondered about that.
Danny in the comments here, he lays out Sark's November's record. We're not going to talk about 2021. We know what happened that year. Goodness gracious. 3-1 in November 2022, 4-0 in 23, and 4-0 in 2024. So 10-1 in November's. Since Sark really got sea legs under him, that first year was a bit of a throwaway, but yeah, that's good. Oh man, that TCU.
That was also when we were functioning in one of the better ranked. You get what I'm saying? It's like, well, of course we were 4-0 when we were good, but I don't think it's necessarily we're that. So
Right.
that's where I'm like.
But those were situations. Their back was against the wall. They had to keep winning,
Sure.
and they're in the same situation now. They have to keep winning, and I do think that they're going to have some confidence on offense the way that they've been playing. That offensive line playing somewhat, just normal average offensive line football.
Mhm.
I think there's going to be confidence on offense. I expect them to have a pretty good game on it, honestly, on offense. Defense is where I'm actually a little bit concerned.
Cool.
So weird.
Before we keep going, guys, let's hear a word from Andre the Lawyer.
Texans know when you're injured, there's one name that gets results: Andre the Lawyer. Trust the team that has secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans win their injury cases. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, wrongful deaths. Don't let the insurance companies tell you what your claim is worth. Andre the Lawyer will fight for you. His principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait. Call 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. Contact info is in the description.
Any final
Thoughts on
thoughts?
recruiting, man. It's November, and
I was going to say, any final thoughts before we move on to what we need to do for signing day?
no, I'm getting excited about recruiting again.
Finally, because this has frankly been one of the most boring cycles I can
Well,
remember.
it's just it's got its highs and lows. June and July are nuts, and you're going to go through the range of emotions. And then really, my wake up call was Dylan Berryman going to flipping. All right. Now we're getting. It's telling you that the clock is ticking. They're trying to make room, and so they've got to fill their last minute needs. And so I'm excited about recruiting right now.
Yeah. The final month is going to be exciting, but jeez.
Hey, bring this
We also did our
Antoine
work so early.
Bring this Antoine one up at 10:06. Sark and Chris Gilbert.
Sark and Chris Gilbert were out to see Jalen Lott. Even saw a pic of Sark in Oak Cliff. Yeah, he's hanging out at the barbershop or whatever.
Yeah, I think with Sark and Chris Jackson after went to go see a lot, but Chris Gilbert did have Sark around the town. Look, the barbershop he went to, that's where decisions are made. All the top recruits in DFW, they go there, right? So if anybody knows any information on kids, that's where you need to go, right?
Was that barbershop in Oak Cliff?
It was on the border of Oak Cliff and kind of towards DeSoto, so off Beltline.
Okay, yeah, all right, okay, then I know it. Okay, if it's near DeSoto, I know it. Then I know exactly which one that is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the fact that he was out in the DFW, around the town, went to go see Jamie Winfield and Richardson, went by Frisco, saw Jalen Lott. He made his way around, which is huge. You want to see a coach's face, especially around November, right? But I wrote an article. It's good to talk, but the product that you put on Saturday, I think, outweighs everything. You can say whatever you want to these kids, but if you go out there and win and back it up with everything you're telling them, man, I think you got a chance to kind of sway some kids and get them thinking, like, especially if they're committed to schools or hearing from schools that are not having great seasons or don't know who their head coach is going to be next year. This is your chance to sneak in and get in and say, hey, come to Austin, come play for me. So I think Sark did a great job. Man, but shout out to Coach Chris Gilbert, man. Chris Gilbert does a phenomenal job just connecting, and all the relationships he have here in the DFW area. I think it pays huge dividends.
All right,
Yeah, I hope they were talking about that Stanford offensive lineman that went to Oak Cliff that went to Sauk. Hopefully, I'm hoping that they're working angles like that. The right guard that went to Oak Cliff that visited Texas a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
All right, quarterback needs 0. Diabell, absolute baller. Coming off that injury, which was a bummer as well, but good at the quarterback position.
Yeah,
right?
Go to the portal. That's all we care about at quarterback is portal. Go find another Matthew Caldwell.
Derek Cooper, running back, needs are 0 because it's going to be a portal position from here on out. And then where are we sitting with Derek Cooper? I'm sure other teams are attacking Texas. Texas is down.
Texas, nobody. I don't think anybody's half as motivated as Texas to land that kid. And there's one way to show that. Miami not having the season that Miami got hot there, right? People were over their skis on Miami. I think they got ranked number 3 at one point. Then they lost to Louisville and SMU. I think the shine's off of them a little bit, and I'm not sure that they have the wherewithal to get that flip, even though he's in their backyard. So right now they are treating him like a absolute must get. I've made my piece known on him. I'm not sure exactly what to expect out of him as a true freshman, just because he's a very natural football player. I'm not sure he's a natural running back, even though he's got really good running back traits. But they're all in on him. No matter what happens with him, they've got to go portal. Somebody in the questions over here, Ryan Nelson's asking about Dylan Edwards, K-State player. I think they're only going to take one running back, and if that's the case, I'm not taking a little guy like Edwards. They need somebody that's got some size to him that can really hold up. Either one of those Missouri running backs, you find me a guy like that, then that's who I'm looking at. I'm looking for if they only go one running back in the portal.
All right. After Bell, is NIL better spent getting veteran quarterbacks from here on out?
He threw me off with that E on the end. He's like been watching what was that fairy princess movie? The Ugly, the Beautiful. Oh, whatever.
I don't know. Eric loves fairy princess movies.
Hey, man,
we don't know him as well as Eric does.
I had my sisters that I had to babysit forever and ever. What the Beauty and the Beast? There it is. All right.
It's classic.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's going to be examples and counterexamples. I don't know if one way is the better. One way is definitely better for a school like Indiana. I'm not sure if it's better for, like, let's say Arch goes on a crazy run and then Diabell goes on a crazy run. Are we supposed to say why would you quit having high school running quarterbacks at that point? If you went on
the portal, to me is a stopgap. Like, if you can take a veteran quarterback that's okay with being QB2, do it every time. But Sark's like, if Manning pans out and Bell, who I think is going to be a baller, it's like, for sure, take the top quarterbacks that pan out, but just make sure the quarterback 2 is veteran and mature and willing to.
I love it. I love it for a school like Indiana. Now, ironically enough, they had Josh Hoover out of high school, which Cignetti and Josh Hoover would probably do some damage if Cignetti was able to develop him for years. But man, every school is going to be different. Lincoln Riley went on a crazy run at OU with transfers. But Sark, given the Sark system, and obviously it's a little more complex than what we're seeing other schools run. You want to have them in the program for some years.
Yeah,
even if you're an experienced guy coming in, that's a lot to learn in one off season. So, but a guy like Cignetti should just keep rolling those transfers through. Go have because he's going to have the pick of the litter.
Yeah, what he's doing is pretty insane.
It is.
Wide receiver, Jalen Lott.
Yeah, watch
him.
We're kind of considering Cohen Brown an athlete, not necessarily just a wide receiver. So they got a factor for that. And then Jermaine Bishop is a wide receiver pretty much all the way. Even though he could play corner, my comp for him is sort of Jalen Waddle. Waddle could have played corner at a very high level. So they offered Legend Bay the other day. Somebody's asking why they wait so long on that. Sometimes they wait a while because they sort of know that they can or think they can. Like Xavier Filsaime, everyone's like, they offered him in October of his cycle, and a lot of people thought it was a waste of time. But usually they know something that the conventional wisdom doesn't know. And Legend Bay. Now, the problem with Legend Bay, of course, is Ohio State got in the mix.
Yeah.
And so they're going to be tough. Now that Wilt Fong put in an RPM. Yeah, I'm not saying that's not based on what we know is going to happen right now. That's a projection. Sometimes he puts it in when he knows. Sometimes he's projecting. That was a projection. We'll see what's up with Legend Bay. Charlie knows that situation pretty well.
Yeah. Look, Coach Chris Gilbert, another relationship in DFW. He has ties to this kid. He's been recruiting, talking to this kid and the coaching staff for a long time. And so, when Sark goes by and offers, it kind of signs off on the kid like, yeah, this kid can play. And plus, he's having a dominant senior season. Like, I don't think there's too many other kids out there right now having a senior season like he's having, man. And so I get why, Texas said, okay, yeah, let's go all in on him. I think he's settled on playing receiver versus quarterback now. I know he wanted to play quarterback for a long time, but he sees his role. Okay, I'm a receiver at the next level, or I'm an athlete, right? And so I think that opened up a lot of options for him as well. And so now he's kind of settled on that. I think it helps Texas out, but we'll see. Like I said, the relationship has been there. Even though he didn't have an offer from Texas, the relationship has been there for a while.
Yeah, there's a difference. People think it's not recruiting unless you have an offer out there. You're recruiting guys without offers. In fact, the best recruiters are always doing that. You got to build relationships. Gilbert knows that staff very well. They've been in that school a lot over the years. And so, we'll see where it goes. I think the Ryan Niblett role is something that they could sell him on as getting on the field early and then building out his overall game as a wide receiver. And then, of course, Jalen Lott. Jalen Lott's going to be tough to pull from Oregon. I'm not. I don't think I see that one happening. It's going to be expensive. There's already a considerable amount of money tied up in the roster at wide receiver.
Yeah.
So I don't see that lot happening, but obviously they're still swinging at it.
Yeah, and I'm becoming less and less of now. Of course, Jalen Lott's a special talent, right? Like Jermaine Bishop's a special talent. Like those are guys that you take, but it's still. I think that's becoming a portal position, man, as well, especially in the Sark thing where it's like you don't even generally get to see the light of day early on. So that's my big thing, especially in Texas context. Tight end needs 0 to 1, none committed. Jeff Banks gets to just take every other year off at the position, which I'm not a fan of, but I get that we have a lot of tight ends to develop.
I wish they had it's a position that requires some development. It takes some time. It's a tough position to play. You're part offensive lineman, you're part wide receiver, you're part fullback. So it takes physical development, it takes skill development. You should probably take one in every class, but it is a position you can go to the portal. And they are pretty well stocked. They really like Emory Winston. They really like Nick Townsend. Jordan Washington is probably only scratched the surface of what he can be. Hopefully he's only scratched the surface because he's got a ways to go as a blocker. They've got injuries for another year. So it's not pressing. It's just, you usually want somebody that you're developing. Spencer Shannon, look, I think Spencer Shannon might still become a player for Texas, but that's a long developmental curve. He was in the 2023 class, right? He's in the 2022. I don't know. It was a long time ago. 2023, I think. Anyway, he's in his third year and he's not ready. And so these guys, some of them take a while. They're tall, they're longer, they need to get stronger. And so, yeah, ideally they take one, but obviously it's a position you can go to the portal if you need to.
Man, get me a blocker, man.
I don't think they're going to go to the portal either. So that they better be. If Sark wants to go back to 12 personnel and they don't take a blocking tight end.
No, it's just so dumb. Like I don't get what the mental block is there with that position. It's remarkable how bad we even try to strategize that position. I absolutely hate the strategy on tight end. All right, offensive line. John Turntine, A&M's after him, right? Max Wright, he went to visit SMU.
Yeah, SMU's all over him. And I love Max Wright. I like John Mills last year. These guys are not super expensive, but they have serious upside. They have legit tackle upside. I'm not sure Max Wright is going to take all that long. Obviously, a red shirt would be great for him, and he needs that. But Max Wright that's what you want in this class. You want a Max Wright in every single class. Losing Mills last year wasn't ideal. Turntine is a really, really, really interesting topic. Charlie knows them very well. I know them pretty well. Him lacking weight and at the same time being an elite athlete for the position makes him expensive, but also how long until he's ready to play? That's a tough one. So I don't know what's going to happen. A&M's after him. This is kind of about carrying costs. You're going to have these costs that you're not getting anything out of. It's like having an RV in storage for a whole year. Like, damn, man. What was my storage cost on that? So it's, you want to get some value out of that. Hey, he's a great kid, great character, plays hard. It just, has to get bigger. Maybe he could play that inline tight end position for a year while he puts on weight. That wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Obviously Bryson Martinez is the top target. He's going to take an official visit for the Arkansas game. Texas is certainly in that. Here's the thing: LSU doesn't have a head coach.
Right?
Who's their head coach going to be? When are they going to make a hire? Signing day is December 3rd through 5th. If they don't hire somebody until December 10th, that kid might be Orange House already. So that's certainly one to watch. Texas is making up some ground on that. Interesting athlete. Talk about playing tight end. He plays tight end. He's good. You can go to his huddle and see him catching like 25-yard touchdowns.
Yeah.
He's a legit athlete, some real upside. Obviously they need another tackle in the class.
Is the pitch tricky for O-line with the struggles of O-line and what those struggles could mean in the offseason? Is that a hard sell?
I don't get that from kids, talking about offensive line. Look, they see opportunity. Like, hey, maybe I can go in and earn some playing time. And I don't think that factors in, because you got to look at the longevity of Kyle Flood's offensive line. Is this the only year they had this kind of bad struggles? Like, you look at the tail of the tape, not just one season, because everybody can have an up and down season, but you look at what he's done throughout his career. I think that matters the most, and more than anything, to kids.
Yeah, it's opportunity. He's got skins on the wall. The Texas just had, Kelvin Banks went top 10, and he's playing well in his rookie year. They've got guys in the NFL. That's just, they're just right now they're just selling all this turnover, and that leads to playing time and opportunity, like Coach said. Malachi Lee, Michigan commit. They haven't fallen off like Texas was hoping, and that doesn't seem very likely at this point.
Cool. All right, that's offense. Let's talk defense. Defensive tackle James Johnson, Corey Well, Vodney, Cleveland, and then after Anderson at LSU. What do we know there about the big boys after the Berryman decommit?
Yeah. Well, I should have thrown in Jamian Winfield. They're still swinging away at that one. Charlie's been doing his homework on that recruitment. He knows the players in that one really well. They're trying to build consensus with these Edna Carr kids. You got Hayward Howard committed, trying to go after another teammate. Aiden Hall plays safety. Just get him on campus, build consensus. He's another one that – but Richard Anderson is the type of guy the boosters will just go make him happy and say, hey, look, you'll be happy with the whoever we hire at LSU, and if not, call us up and we'll send you something else. It's going to be – it's tough to get these guys out of Louisiana. He's a big plus-size defensive tackle that can move. Man. Yeah, Louisiana boosters, LSU boosters are not going to let that go quietly, even if they are still trying to figure out who their hire is. Now, there is some talk that they're looking at going the budget route on a head coach. Could that help Texas? Probably. Having his teammates committed or interested in Texas obviously helps as well. I'm not sure that Texas really should go all in here just because of the price tag. And you've got James Johnson and you've got a very healthy room right now. We wrote the other day that Hero Kanu is likely back. So I'm not sure that they need to go all in, but man, he's really good. He's really talented, and these are the toughest guys to find. He's like a Tavondre Sweat type of D tackle. He's not just the smaller penetrator sort.
Yeah, I was just about to say, people will call him Tavondre Sweat 2.0. I mean, he's a big kid who can move. You got him, then you got Winfield. That's going to be pricey. USC's not falling off like most people thought maybe Raleigh would. And so, I mean, that's another thing. But, I mean, these Edna Carr kids, man, they got some interest in Texas, which is huge. The coaching staff likes Texas. I think the buy-in from Coach Lyle and Clark and the relationships he has in Louisiana is helping a ton with this one. But like Eric said, it's hard to pull kids out of Louisiana sometimes, but I guess we'll see what happens.
Justin Wells asks, would y'all prefer Winfield or Anderson, all things equal? So here's where and we like Winfield, right? The first time we saw his tape, we went into hyper mode. It's just like, all right, who's this kid? He moved in from Mississippi. We're all about Winfield. I mean, he's got tons of athletic upside. But, in situations like this, give me the guy that's more rare, and that's going to be the bigger guy, the bigger athlete, and that's Anderson. It's just harder to find somebody that's 6'5", going to be 340 pounds, and move like a D tackle. I mean, give me the bigger guy. They're harder to find. Go with what's least common.
Right. I like that.
I don't say, Coach, we're not going to make you answer that. All right. And then edge is going to be Richard Wesley. That was a weird one too, man. But then some targets that we've known in this cycle that were really important early on and then waned and committed elsewhere. So Drake Wynn, Jamarian Carlton, and then Jordan Carter at the end there. What are we doing with edge? How much do we need edge? Yada, yada.
You know what? Looking at edge, Jamarian Carlton, man, that was up and down recruitment. He was favoring Texas, then all of a sudden at the end, kind of got Baylor, and some incentives to go to Baylor. But I think that the relationship with him and Coach Lyle and Clark has come back around. I think it's always kind of been there, but there's one thing you can always kind of hold on to, right? Especially coming close to signing day. With Baylor uncertain, and you don't know who the head coach is going to be. If Aranda does get fired, like there's talks of that. And so with Jordan Carter, he was previously committed to Texas A&M. Doesn't mind leaving the state of Georgia whatsoever. So he kind of just came up, but Texas loves going to Georgia and getting guys out of the state and stealing from Kirby Smart and everybody else. And then Trey Quinn's kind of always hung around the rim. I think in recruitment when he did commit it from Clemson, Texas was right there before he committed. And so I know he'll be visiting. And when he comes back, man, I think that'll be huge. And I know his dad really loves Alan Clark and what Texas does with the edge room. And so we'll see what happens, but we definitely need another edge in the room. And it just depends on which one of these guys that you go after. I would probably lean towards Quinn and Carlton more than Carter because it's kind of a new relationship that just kind of came about. But sometimes those end up being the guys you get.
I want a buck. And if I want a buck, I want Quinn. So we're looking for the replacement for Colin Simmons in this class. And it could be Smith Orogbo, and Zena's going to have something to say about that, but who knows how big Zena's going to be a year from now.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for a guy that does a little bit of what Colin does. You can drop into coverage. Always, you don't want to drop Colin in a ton because he's so valuable as a pass rusher, but Quinn is a very good face-up pass rusher. Got all kinds of athleticism. Change of direction. He's not too tall, so his change of direction is good. He's got a good motor. He's got a good build. I think he fits really well what they're looking for at Buck. Jamarion's on the longer side of that, which is, it's okay. But Jamarion might long-term grow into a Jack. I'm not sure. And then Wesley is your Jack. He's not Lance Jackson to me, but he's in that same neighborhood. Pure Jack all the way. He's going to play next year. You're going to be set there with Lance, Colton Vasek, and Wesley. I want a Buck in this class.
Cool. Linebacker, Tyler Atkinson, Kosi Akpala. The Tyler Atkinson read was easy. All you had to do was watch his YouTube channel. He likes living the high life. He's at all the fancy gyms in Austin. Yeah. He likes living the pro life right now. And so whenever all the other schools, I was like, those other schools don't have that. They're not in major metroplexes. But Tyler Atkinson, getting him was good. Kosi Akpala, of course. And then the new name is Maycock at Florida State. How's that working?
So I really don't know what Johnny Nanson's plan is as a recruiter. It's obviously Tyler's NIL. They might have met at some point, him and Nanson. I don't really get the plan at linebacker. Okpala, that's a Texas kid all the way, right? He would be committed if Tom Herman was the head coach. Okpala is interesting though because he's played edge entirely. I wrote an article the other day that he's like the natural progression of Trey Moore and Brad Spence. He could play edge or off-ball linebacker. If he plays off-ball linebacker, that's not a position you learn overnight. It takes a lot of time. Whereas he's a natural edge rusher. He's a blur off the edge, very quick first step. He has the bend. He goes for the strip. I mean, he's a natural pass rusher. So I'm curious to see how his development plays out. Now he's about 6'2", 220 pounds. He's a lean but muscular guy. I don't think he's going to put on weight super easily, but it will come over time. I'm just not sure what position he's going to play long term. They kind of need him to be an off-ball linebacker. Just numbers are not great at the position, but his best utility, his best skill set might be as a pass rusher. So that's one of those things that's going to play out on campus over time. It wouldn't be surprising if he played a role like Trey Moore or Brad Spence, where he's a little bit of both, more of a hybrid. Maycock is not big. He's going to take some time too. It's kind of like Maurice Blackwell. He's bigger than Blackwell, but it's going to take some time for him to put on some weight. So, they got to go portal. They might have to take two at linebacker in the portal just because numbers are not great. You got Bo Barnes who's going to play next year, obviously, but they're going to lose Hill, and you got you need more competition in that room as well. Leonga and Ty have been a little up and down of late, so. High school recruiting is not going great. Got to keep Atkinson because he'll play a lot. But then, if you're thinking next year, you got to go portal.
True.
What's our rank? I haven't even looked at it.
Recruiting rank?
Yeah. What's our class rank?
They're like number 5.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
All right. Secondary, Samari Matthews, Hayward Howard. It should be Howard Hayward, but we'll allow it. And then Riley as well. So need a couple more guys there. Torrey Davis, Aiden Hall. Josiah Vilmail, is that how I say it?
Yeah, that guy came out of nowhere. Me and Charlie were both talking about him, and Justin as well. We're like, what's going on with this cat? Track speed, corner safety length that they like 6'1", nose for the ball, can cover, flip his hips. Just really interesting kid. He should have more offers. Wind aided 10-6 last year. This just looks like I don't know anything about the mental eval or anything like that, but tape is very intriguing. And Torrey Davis, that guy, he's playing in Colorado. He's out of Boulder, so he's playing a bunch of snowboarders. But he's got he's got insane numbers as a wide receiver. He's got a lot of ball production in the secondary. He's a long kid. He'll visit officially for the Arkansas game. And then Aiden Hall he's supposed to visit with Hayward Howard, and Richard Anderson, and we'll see where that one goes. Obviously, he's an LSU commit.
And hey, there's wind on a football field, so I'm all good.
Yeah, you know what though, Homer, there's another name. I know he's committed to LSU. If he actually visits Texas, it's Haven Finney, corner out of Sierra Canyon, teammates of Richard Wesley, who reclassified. He's 2026 as well, and so I know he's maybe supposed to visit A&M or Arkansas game, but that's another long corner who I think got like day one potential to play. So him and Samari Matthews kind of similar size and height and length, and man, they got some ability. So we'll see if he visits, but that's another name.
Well, look at all this. It should be action-packed here until National Signing Day. And then, of course, if Texas can help itself, right, with some big wins, that's going to be really important too. Gotta finish strong and look good doing it. All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us. We enjoy it a lot. And this was IT Live, and it was brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. And sign up for Inside Texas for just $1. Have a wonderful Monday, everyone. Goodbye.